Have you ever been inside a prison for animals where they're held captive, tortured, and forced to perform tricks for audiences? I'm sure many of you are shaking your heads no, confident you would never contribute to something so horrid. But many of you actually probably have. Zoos are just that. Animals are held captive in tiny enclosures for human entertainment. This archaic practice is inhumane and harmful to the animals. These innocent animals deserve to be in their natural environments, far from humans and tiny cages. While I was initially unaware of the terrible effects zoos can have on these animals, I did a lot of research and educated myself, and now I hope to educate you on the secrets of a zookeeper. Zoos are prisons for animals because of their terrible conditions, increased mental and behavioral issues among animals, and unnecessary deaths that occur far too often. The primary reason that zoos are prisons for animals is due to their terrible conditions. Often zoos run at a loss. This means they don't make any profit, and when they do, it's not much. This causes zoos to be required to cut costs in almost every way possible. The easiest way for them to do that is to reduce the quality of life for the animal. According to PETA's official website, PETA.org, under the Issues tab, Entertainment section, the blog titled Zoos Pitiful Prisons, last accessed April 21st, 2020, says that even under the best circumstances a zoo can provide an animal, it is never anywhere near what they had in the wilderness. Many species roam large distances, and animals like lions, elephants, and tigers, and many more can see up to an 18,000 time reduction in space in zoos. This can be up to 1 million when you consider species like the polar bear. This is very harmful to the animals and can result in premature deaths happening far too often. According to that same PETA article, a study done of zoos in the UK found that animals on average live 3 times longer in the wild than in zoos. This study also found that the infant mortality rate among lion cubs was actually 10% higher in captivity than in the wild. Animals are also still taken from the wild and put into captivity. Many zoos have taken animals from the wild to put into their zoos, ripping these animals from their natural environments and imprisoning them in these tiny cages. Breeding programs will often pose as conservation programs to reintroduce the animals back into their natural environments, but many of these are only in place to ensure a strong captive population. Some zoos have even been exposed of selling their captive population to circuses when they have excess to make some extra profit. The tiny prison cells that zoo animals are trapped in is not only a terrible place for the animals to live, but it can cause many behavioral and mental issues as well. Zoos cause many issues for animals, and according to freedomforanimals.org, published by the Captive Animals Protection Society under the News and Blogs tab, the 10 Facts About Zoos blog, last accessed April 22nd, 2020, describes the suffering many zoo animals go through when dealing with these serious behavioral problems. Lions that are held in captivity will often spend half of their time pacing. This can be a sign of very serious behavioral issues among animals. Elephants are also known to show symptoms of behavioral issues, some showing unusual activity and behavioral even more often than the traditional actions and behaviors they would show in the wild. This shows the dangerous effects zoos can have on animals. Not only are they ripping them out of their natural environments, but also causing them to develop many issues as well. An article published by One Green Planet, written by D. Lamont under the Petitions tab, titled Beyond the Zoo, How Captivity Affects the Mental Well-Being of All Animals, last accessed April 23, 2020, went into detail about the specific habits many animals will pick up. Pacing is a very huge habit many species show. This is unusual for animals in the wild, and while pacing doesn't have many serious effects, some large cats will show scars and gashes from over-grooming. This can get especially serious because animals will often pick one limb or spot to continuously groom. This minor example is nothing compared to the terrible injuries these poor animals can inflict upon themselves. This is torture for animals, and in some countries it is even banned to keep these animals under these terrible conditions. Animals need to be recognized as creatures deserving of life in their natural environment, not fun exhibits for humans to go look at whenever they desire. While it is very sad that these animals have these issues after spending time in captivity, what can be even more sad is the healthy animals that die for no reason. The final reason zoos are terrible for animals is because of the surplus of animals that are killed for no reason. In European zoos, there is often a large amount of healthy animals, and many of them are killed if other zoos don't want them. These animals can be completely healthy and have no issues whatsoever. Some zoos will breed animals continuously to keep baby animals in the public eye because they are more attractive and will generate more profit. This leaves a lot of less desirable adults that often don't hold as much value to the other zoos. Zoos will sometimes even be encouraged to kill these animals when there's a super large surplus. According to an article on NPR.org written by Barbara J. King, found under the Cosmos and Culture section, entitled "Why Do European Zoos Kill Healthy Animals?", between 3,000 and 5,000 healthy animals are killed a year. While many organizations promise not to kill healthy surplus animals, they are often just transferred to other zoos that cannot afford to buy the animals rather than being released into the wild. Zoos are terrible places filled with inhumane actions and innocent deaths. However, not everyone agrees. Some say that zoos are helpful and important because they can educate children in a fun way, but this claim is not true. Children have shown to gain no actual knowledge from zoos. Many children just look at the animals, and the only thing they are taught is that it is okay to keep these innocent creatures in captivity, which is not a lesson we should be teaching children from a young age. Many zoos, like this one shown, don't even have signs or anything to describe or identify the animals. This makes the exhibits completely useless when it comes to educational value. Zoos are not a good enough educational resource for children to make them acceptable when considering the drastic and horrific effects these enclosures can have on these innocent animals. It is clear that zoos are inhumane, and many of their actions are appalling to large groups of people all around the world. I've spoken a lot about the negative effects of zoos, and I hope you all have gained some information on the terrible actions behind them. Zoos are prisons designed to hold innocent animals captive for public attraction. These habitats the animals live in are tiny and will never be anywhere near the level of their natural environments. They are constantly in tiny enclosures that cause many issues mentally and behaviorally, and it is torture to the animals. In addition to torturing these animals, many healthy animals are killed because they are bred endlessly without any need. Zoos are not educational, they are not humane, and they are not an attraction. They are a prison animals wish to escape constantly, and they should not be supported worldwide.